Nigerians are eagerly anticipating the release of petrol from the $20 billion Dangote Petroleum Refinery as the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, announced plans to lift the products from the refinery on September 15th. NNPCL, however, emphasized that petrol prices will be determined by foreign exchange rates and market forces due to the deregulated nature of the market. While assuring the public of significant petrol supply boost this weekend, with vessels already offloading, the federal government ruled out any plans to fix the price of premium motor spirit PMS. NNPCL noted that foreign exchange challenges have been a major factor driving petrol price fluctuations, which are now regulated by free market dynamics under the Petroleum Industry Act. And to dissect this, we're joined by finance expert Gbolahan Olojede. Good evening. Glad to have you join me on the news.
Nice to be on the program.
All right. Let me kick off by asking what your assessment is of this continuous fuel scarcity in Nigeria.
Well, obviously, there are complications around supply issues. Once the supply is not there, either because we failed to meet our obligations under previous supplies, or there are other supply disruptions, the scarcity will show up again. But I think at the heart of the scarcity is also the issue of price. For the ongoing one, at some point there were comments from NNPC. In fact, at some point we were told that it was thunderstorm that was affecting the offloading of vessels until recently when they came up to say, look, we are indebted. And maybe some of the reasons why they're not getting the supply is because they're not meeting the obligations promptly to the debt, to the creditors who they are owing. So ideally, hopefully now that we have Dangote Refinery coming into that space, maybe the issues of supply problems might be doused, and we hopefully should have some reprieve from this continuous bouts of fuel scarcity that we have been experiencing.
Well, we're looking at the potential of Nigeria, I mean, being the largest producer of crude in West Africa, of all the 54 African countries, and we happen to import petrol. What would you say is the underlying factors affecting this continuous supply of petrol in Nigeria, and then how can it be addressed once and for all?
Well, it's a fairly complicated issue. In the midst of the problem is corruption and lack of transparency on one side. In the midst of it also is a subsidy regime that has been introduced since about 1974. So you have a 50-year subsidy scheme. Dealing with that is a major problem as well. You also have a situation in which the lack of transparency and the subsidy issue have made it difficult for the private sector to fully participate in the downstreams, in the refining of petroleum products domestically. So it's a cocktail of many issues. But I think we are now moving in the right direction. If we have Dangote Refinery working efficiently, if we also have some of these public refineries, even if they are going to be concession, also coming into that space to produce the white products for us. We also have Aradel, we have Walter Smith, and probably more refineries will also join the fray. The more the merrier, because competition is also important in the mix of what we are talking about. I guess we are beginning to move gradually in the right direction. However, we still need more transparency in that space. We are still not getting the right level of transparency in the way that sector operates. For example, a couple of weeks ago, there were many news carried it that the landing cost of PMS is 1,200. So the question you must ask yourself is, if the landing cost is 1,200, how come the price is 897 naira? It shows that while on one side we are saying there is no subsidy, in reality, according to the numbers being rolled out by NNPC itself, there is still a huge subsidy. So we need a bit more transparency. We cannot continue to assume that what the people like to listen to is lies and half-truths. Can we put the cards on the table and let us know exactly what the numbers are and where you are driving us to? As it is today, it is still a largely opaque sector.
Well, I know you mentioned that Dangote Refinery would sort of stem the tide of this scarcity of petrol in Nigeria. But then some persons have said, I mean, Dangote Refinery alone, would be effective, being a player in the oil sector if other refineries in Nigeria is up and running. What do you make of that?
Yeah, in terms of monopoly issues, it is better that we have other people pitching into that space. If it's only Dangote Refinery that is producing and giving us fuel, we have created a monopoly. We will now have to deal with how to manage issues that come with monopolistic product production. We will have to deal with that. But the better thing will be that there are other producers, be it Port Harcourt refineries being concessioned to some private sector operators to manage it. Maybe Aradel will also come big into that space. Walter Smith will also come big into that space. And if there is more transparency, there will be more players that will come into that space. And we can have some sort of competition. Otherwise, Dangote Refinery alone, while it can meet our needs, if it is the only player in that space, then we have a monopoly and we'll have to deal with issues around monopolies.
Well, indeed, we hope Nigeria finds a lasting solution to this continuous fuel scarcity. But thank you so much for your insight on the news. Gbolahan Olojede, financial expert. Many thanks indeed.
Yeah, thanks for having me.